poor Max. I pray to Sethras that those Savinian cretins haven't found him.
Albin and I fled from Jova when we heard the Asterian army was approaching. We left everything behind, even our poor dog. Albin is really beside himself about it. We just took a risk.
And then Mrs. Cost found me. I wish I could help her. But we dropped all our stuff when the monsters chased us in the tunnel. It was so dark and scary.
My poor Max. I pray to Sethras that those Savinian...
Albin and I fled from Jova when we... Albin is really beside himself.
Finding the Watcher's Nest is the only move left.
What do you know about their...
They call it the Watcher's Nest. To get there, Vitalis described the entrance as a doorway etched into solid rock. He mentioned a windmill above it on the cliff.
What do you know about their...
They call it the Watcher's Nest. To get there, Vitalis said we must follow... Vitalis described the entrance as a doorway etched into solid rock. He mentioned a windmill above it on the cliff.
Listen, I don't want any trouble.
Who are you?
The name's Atticus. I escaped the Medini prison camp when the demons attacked. I joined up with some refugees. We have a camp close by. The path to reach it is behind the giant stone serpent. Head north from here. These people need me. Have you seen the destroyed ON vehicles on the road? They're northeast of the Weeping Knight statue. There's a truck that's still in good shape. If only I could find the keys and get it started, I could take these people to my father's farm in Sinedra.
Who are you?
I joined up these people. Have you seen the destroyed ON vehicles on the road? They're northeast of the Weeping Knights. If only I could find the keys and get it started.
Did you see a strange door somewhere around here?
I saw a large door carved into the rock. Head back on this path and turn left. Continue on the path, and the door will be on your right. Careful, though. There's a huge demon lurking in front. When I saw it, I turned back.
I think I met your father.
Yes, he's my father. They are not our Lord's doing. He would never unleash such demons upon us, no matter how much. This disaster is the work of TR, the great two-headed serpent. You want proof? If they were from Setharus, they would have only attacked the guards back in Medini. Once the strange anomalies appeared, creatures materialized everywhere out of thin air. It was surreal. The Kata describes a place called the Himalara Fields. TR made the Great Curse, and his demons dwell in that place. I believe those anomalies are doorways between our worlds. They are my brothers and sisters. Our faith and tragedy bind us. We will overcome this. We must. Now, more than ever. Let me tell you about Sabinians. The guards at the Medini prison camp would sometimes open the camp gates to Sabinian civilians. They would enter the gates of hell to spend the night beating, killing, raping, or any other twisted pleasure they could imagine. These Sabinian civilians wanted to settle old scores. Do you know what their grievances were? A wealthy palamist who would refuse to give them a job. A farmer who wouldn't lend his tools. A man who had stolen a girlfriend. Petty disputes were settled with crimes against humanity. That's who you're dealing with. I despise them with every fiber of my being. Did you know that the Peacekeepers had an outpost in Medini? They stood by and watched Sabinian soldiers rape and murder palamists in droves. I'll tell you what they did care about. Their medical supplies and food. That's it. If they claim they never saw the Medini prison camp just outside of town, they could shoot. The stench of death filled the air for kilometers. They had the numbers and equipment to stop. When the war erupted, I was still in Losalis, in the heart of the Lion's Den. I gathered what supplies I had and left for the Astarian-Umbrahan border. I needed to get home, to get to my family. What usually took a few hours on a road trip I stole from people who were more desperate than I was. I refused to help. After months of hiding, looting, stealing and running, I finally arrived on the outskirts of the Umbrahan border. I sought refuge in a barn. I was exhausted and hungry. The farmer woke me. I was initially terrified, but he was holding a plate of food. He handed it to me and I devoured it. He said he would return with more. He turned out to be a Sabinian farmer, feeding me to buy time until the soldiers showed up. It worked like a charm. That was the last square meal I had. After that, prison scraps if I was lucky. It doesn't look like it, but Hadia was beautiful. And history lessons were modified to suit new narratives. The line drawn in the sand by facts was fading under the waves of Sabinian nationalism. New campus groups and fraternities were formed and engaged in intimidation campaigns against Palamas students. Some of us stood firm, but most ended up leaving. It was so hard for me. My parents had spent their hard-earned money to send me to university. I was the only one in the family who had been given this chance. Deep down, I always believed that it would stop, that people would eventually come to their senses. Then I noticed that this was happening all over the country. By the time my hope had faded,
Need to make more adjustments to the zero. Continue.
Oh, my poor Mac. I pray to Seth. You'll need that more than I do. You'll need that.
indications. Confirmation that the calamity is real, and the existence of a plan to stop it, the so-called failsafe. We know nothing of this failsafe, nor of the artifact we recovered. The revelation that we may have a traitor in our ranks weighs heavily on me. Our vows are sacrosanct. How could one betray the Order at a moment such as this? I harbor a growing suspicion, an insidious notion that is slowly taking root. Harrowing, if accurate. It chills me to the bone. I cannot inform the others until I have arrived at certainty without doubt. The risk of exposure is too great. What would she possibly have to gain? I pray that I am mistaken. The consequences would be disastrous. Likely the end of the Vigil as we know it. Pentos-Algia, the first of the Watchers. It was Pentos who recognized that the Calamity would always remain a threat. From the ashes of the derelict Folgard, he forged a new order to carry on our sacred charge. His foresight and tenacity are the reason the Vigil still exists today. There must be a reason he chose to conceal the existence of the Failsafe and the Keystone. Truly extraordinary that we should stumble upon his tomb after all these years. I pray it contains the answers we seek.
Funny. I've never seen you before. No matter. I can see your
Who are you?
My name is Gildas Brom. I am the oldest member of the Vigil. We have accumulated quite a collection. These items...
Anything else you can tell me about the Watcher's Nest?
Initially, the Watcher's Nest was a barracks for the Foal Guards, our ancestral The Foal Guard abandoned it, but Pentos Algier, the founder of the Vigil, reclaimed it years later. Today, it is a beacon, a marker left behind for future generations. Although we haven't been able to open his coffin yet, we are confident there are more answers inside.
Can you tell me more about the...
If you have the keystone, this can only mean one thing. Vitalis is no more. Unfortunately, there is no time to mourn him. As for the artifact, we only have theories, some of which you can find in notes and journals strewn across the tables and desks. The keystone of grief was found in the Umal Caves, leading us to the Watcher's Nest. Whatever the keystone is, I believe some answers can be found in Pentos's coffin. If only we can figure out a way to open the damn thing.
What are other duties a Vigil must perform?
I'm sure you are aware that nothing is free in this world. As a Vigil, you swore an oath to prevent the calamity and protect the people of Hadia. By performing good deeds for Hadians, you can acquire some relics and items. You may have noticed that the creature, despite being slain, returns after a certain time. That's because you haven't shut down their time loop. You need to kill the Guardians first, and only then can you enter the time loop to shut it down. We must shut down all the time loops. I know, it seems like an impossible task given the brutality of the Civil War. Take this. It will help you detect the Guardians that are protecting each time loop.
This was in Pentos's coffin. What do you make of it?
This is what you found. That isn't very reassuring. More, I recognize the old Hadian language. It died out centuries ago. It would...
Where do these necklaces come from?
The necklaces we carry today belong to the Foal Guards. We found that crafting these necklaces is a lost art. Many have tried unlocking the secrets of forging one, but every attempt has failed. They are precious and rare, which is why each member of the Vigil passes the necklace to their next of kin.
What do you know about these?
Consider what our smiths need to forge our weapons. It makes you think, doesn't it? Now think about it. You can't slay the creatures without our weapons. The material to forge them comes from the creature's corpse. How did they do?
What are time loops?
They ensnare moments in time, events charged with extreme violence. And now, how to shut it down? Once inside, you must bring an Ammon prism to the center of the time loop. The center is deadly to humans, so the Foal Guards trained owls to carry the Ammon prism. Ammon prisms are extremely rare. This is the only one I have left. please take it. Perhaps your flying gadget can carry it to the center for you. Remember, when you close a time loop, come back and see me to claim your reward. There must be thousands. Roll up your sleeves. You have a lot of work ahead of you.
How do I perform good deeds?
It's simple. Help our people. Hadeans are a proud bunch. They won't ask for your help directly, so pay attention to what they say. The more you help our fellow Hadeans, the more relics and items you can acquire. Now, you're asking yourself, how can this old kook know if I'm helping people? Oh, I can tell. It's in your eyes, boy. The eyes have much to say if one knows how to look. Whenever you accomplish a good deed, come back and talk to me to claim your reward. The time loops appeared at midnight on January 1st, and the creatures soon after. This isn't the first time this phenomenon has occurred in Hadia. You would think we would all be experts by now, but we're piecing together some lost history. Somehow this vital information has slipped through the cracks. We are uncertain if January 1st at midnight is genuinely part of the cycle. Is it consistent or random? We are plagued by many of these questions. With our lack of answers, we could do little to prevent the calamity. Only brace for it. Now that it is upon us, only one question remains. Who or what is creating the time loops? The time loops appeared at midnight on January 1st, and the creatures soon after. You would think we would all be experts by now, but we're piecing together some lost history. Somehow this vital information has slipped through the cracks. We are uncertain if January 1st at midnight is genuinely part of the cycle. Is it consistent or random? With our lack of answers, we could do little to prevent the calamity. Only brace for it. Now that it is upon us, only one question. I have no ill feelings toward the Palamists. They are dyed-in-the-wool Hadeans. Well, the way to a Palamist's heart is through his faith. Threaten that, and you will have a devoted enemy pitted against you. The propagandists played the religion card, fear-mongering the Palamists into believing that the Sabinians were going to take their faith away. And now look at us, divided and broken. It's deplorable. Technically, I am Sabinian. I don't count myself as one, though. I am a Vigil, first and foremost. I was born and raised in the small village of Teden. It's in the north of us. I went to school just like the other Sabinian kids, but during the small hours, I trained. I barely had friends growing up, but that didn't matter. The life of a Vigil, I was always the outsider looking in. I observed my friends and neighbors all bickering about the Palamists. Let's just say I had other things on my mind than to hate an entire group of people. That always bothered me to my core. I wish I could have told them all to stop, to tell the truth, and I'm afraid they were too far gone, as if their hatred were a terminal sickness. I don't know much about the Peacekeepers. In a way, they are like the Vigil. They help the victims of war and ensure their care. However, unlike us, they operate in the open, which has certain disadvantages. It's like having a target painted on your back. War is beyond tragedy, a senseless waste of human life and potential, and sadly, Haedea is no stranger to it. In fact, we haven't seen a war this brutal before. Modern guns, mixed with hatred passed on. This is why the Vigil doubled its efforts when war loomed on the horizon, and also why the Vigil is being hunted. When desperate, I'll never ascribe to the theory that the Vigil has a traitor within its ranks. Hadeans need to rejoin the world. Come to think of it, we've never been a part of it. I believe the only way to end the calamity is to abandon Haedea. Leave and never return. Sabinian, the calamity is unique to Haedea. Why? What is it? The answer is buried out there somewhere. We need to find it and stop it.
Our camp is due.
really should lock your doors before leaving.
Yeah, there was no need to before.
Now this is an ideal vehicle to roam a war-torn country. It's even got cup holders. Do you realize what you have here?
It gets me where I need to go.
It's a state-of-the-art armored personnel carrier with tech I didn't even know existed. I had fun pressing all the buttons.
Was there a mute button?
Smart ass. Do you want to know what I found or not?
Tell me.
This computer is linked to something called the Zeal server. I came across that name before. The Zeal Council. I have no idea who or what they are.
And?
This server appears to have a vast database containing history of Hadia. As of now, I only have limited access. Give me some time and I'm sure I can get through to more.
Interesting.
When Vitalis contacted me, he told me he wanted...
Whatever deal you had with Vitalis, it died along with him.
I'm sorry you lost your friend.
Don't be. I didn't know him.
Whatever the Vigil is up to, it's on you now, right? I want to piece together whatever is happening here, and you want to stop it. Neither of us can do this on our own. I found a tracking device embedded behind a panel. I know I don't look it, but I have my uses. Face it, you wouldn't have gotten far without me.
All right. You can tag along.
Good. Show me what you found in the coffin. Interesting. Let's talk about the scroll once I'm done examining it. Okay,
So, what's written on the scroll?
I translated the text. It's a riddle. I suggest you read it. I'm sure it will make more sense once we find a location. As for the blue flower, the Zeal server is giving me the usual encyclopedic answer. It's the drawings are landmarks, and the blue flower is the key to finding their location. Whatever this place is, it's a well-guarded secret. I'm sure it holds the clues to Vitalis' investigation into stopping the calamity. I think it's time for you to chat with the locals. Talking isn't your strong suit, but someone must know where this flower grows.
What should I do now?
Someone must know where this blue flower grows. It might be best
Why are you in Hadia?
if someone were to say I was obsessed with Hadia. It would be I've always wanted to see it with my own eye. There is a dark secret. I'll never erase that night from my memory. The moment I laid eyes on them, I became unhinged. Agatha had to steady me. She was as shocked as I was. When I finally regained my composure, I gazed into Agatha's eyes. In those few seconds, I'm at a loss for what to make of them. I bombarded Agatha with questions, but she knew little. She said that this wasn't the first time they had invaded Hadia. My instincts are screaming that there is a conspiracy at work here. Someone... Mind you, I came to these conclusions purely through observations. I haven't done any proper research. They strike me as being like conservatives. Again, these are just observations. I need more time and research to formulate an adequate... No, they are akin to the Protestants back home. At first glance, they bear historical resemblances. They sought a less restrictive faith and crafted one essentially retaining the core of Palam's teachings. I'm not one to oversimplify, but there it is. Ask me again when I have more information about Sabinians and if we ever survive hate. It's a great idea that's poorly executed. I think they get a bad rap, even though peacekeepers have an impossible job each time they... While crossing Hadia, Agatha and I got stopped at a checkpoint. While waiting for our paperwork to clear, once the small talk was over, he told me about what he had done in the village not too far from... I don't know why he was telling me all of this. Did he want to impress me, scare me, or confess? Horrifying as his anecdotes were. What terrifies me the most was that this month, my obsession with Hadia started. He told me about their cousin. I was hooked. When I became a journalist, I wanted the scoop on this place. I almost got an exclusive interview with the dictator. I've covered countless conflicts, gone after the powerful, exposed corruption. Now that I'm actually in Hadia, I have to admit, I think I finally bit off more than I can chew. Find anything? Interesting. I'll look it up. Good find. I'll look it up. Nice. I'll have a look in the database. Nice find. Let's run it through the database.
these the keys to the ON truck? This is great news. I'll head back to the... We're getting out of here. Thank you so much for...
Do you know where this
No, but my father would know. The actual green thumb in the family. He used to bring her a gorgeous...
Are you going back home?
Yes. I can't wait to see my pops again.
I think I met your father.
Yes. He's my father.
Remember when...
Have I helped enough?
The bare minimum will...
What's our status on...
Good. You closed a few of them. I'm sure...
Albin and I fled from Jova when Albin is...
Hi, mister. And then Mrs. Cos found me. I wish I could help her.
I don't know if it's the stress. I need the medication in my suit. You found my medication? I can't even fathom what would have become of my poor baby.
Oh, my poor Mac, I pray. Oh, my poor... I pray to Setherus that those Sabinian cretins haven't found him.
Albin and I fled from Jova when we heard Albin is really...
Oh, my poor Max. I pray to Setherus.
You found Mrs. Cos's medication? I hope...
Thank you again for finding... I can't even fathom what...